non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Good afternoon, David. Welcome to Non-Stop Rock Talk. As always, it is a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Good afternoon, my brother. Once again, we're back to the chat.
Yes, we are. I want to start off by congratulating you on the upcoming release of another Reece album. I've had a few listens to it, and I'm really loving it. It's got a really heavy feel to it. I think your fan base is really going to love this album, as well as I think the Accept Udo fans as well.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. There was some thought into that, actually, from doing the Steel Factory special guest support. I, of course, would play some of the Eat the Heat stuff, and I was doing Brazilian Heart songs on the tour, but I would study Udo every night. And, you know, when you get back into the heavy frame of touring, you realize what works, tempos, sing-alongs, vibes, tunings, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
In the metal field. And a lot of times it merged people and say, you know, I hated Eat the Heat, but now I'm loving it. I love that you play these heavy ones. Can you please, are you going to do something else like that? And I was sucking it in every night. And I said, yeah, that's where I got to go.
That is awesome. Yeah, and it's fantastic. Those guitars are like in your face.
Yeah, and that was the goal. I mean, Chasing the Shadows was, you know, Andy and I had actually written that song years ago.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that song was, in the label that we were signed to on my first solo album, Universal Language, that was our favorite track. And the record company printed the running order, but didn't put it on the master. So we get the CD and we put it on, and it's not there. Andy lost his mind, and I was like, well, I wasn't very happy, but I said, okay, let's move on. And when we decided to work together again, he looked at me and said, we're putting Chasing the Shadows on the record. And I said, that's the template. And the song Cacophony of Souls that I'd already recorded prior to doing it with him again. I said, this is it. So we set the layout in that format.
Yeah. I love the vocal on Cacophony of Souls, actually. I like how you go on the lower register, and then by the chorus, you're like, it really adds like a cool depth to that song.
Well, I'm living with, you know, age, and you know, I'm not a vocal gymnastic guy, except, you know, I had to be because it was an extreme changeover, and I had to do all that stuff. But I'm really a Paul Rogers fan and a Bowie fan, but in many ways, and baritone singers like Morrison and those guys, there's a certain thing about that low register as a man to give it something. And the last couple records I've done, even a few more before that, I started experimenting with that. And you know what? At first it felt weird. And then I went, wait a minute, that sounds kind of cool. So then you give it to them in the chorus, you know, you try to show the gymnastics, if you can, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I appreciate that. That song's special to me. I actually wrote that sitting in the can.
Really?
I was in I wrote the music was written by Martin Frank, who had actually contributed with Brazilian Heart, a few tracks. And he had sent me that song along with those others. And I wrote the lyrics reaching over, sitting on the toilet. I'm not going to lie, with a pen. And it just came out. The title, everything just rolled out on me. And I just went, whoa, what is that? So my wife had actually came to see me in Montana. I was on my day job, and I found a little crummy studio with a plywood box for a vocal room. And I went in, and the guy was clueless, and I just said, throw the track up, and I sang it, and I saved it. And I wanted it to go in Resilient, but it didn't make it. But Andy actually rearranged the song by adding that big solo section, because it didn't have one.
Okay. Wow. Like I said, when I reviewed it for Sleaze Rocks, there's actually a reason why it was on shuffle, because it's on my phone, and for some reason I can't take off shuffle on my phone. I can't figure out how to. So I'm listening to it, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just going to run with this, and I'm going to put it in there because it's on shuffle and it's not in the order it's supposed to be in. And the thing was, you know how sometimes an album has to have the track listing the way it is so that it flows better, so it's more cohesive. This album, it didn't matter where the songs were because every song was so good. You couldn't wait for the next one to come on. And there's a difference in all the songs.
It was a bitch to make a running order, trust me. We had fights. I mean, we would send it over online. We went back and forth at least a month.
Wow. Wow.
And we got close to this one. So I said, okay, I'm taking over. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. I'm going to pick it. And Giles, my manager, Giles Lavery, he threw in Judgment Day where it is because I'd had a couple of different ideas. But yeah, it's one of those records, I mean, when you go to do an album, it's a weird thing. I mean, there's sometimes I don't have a studio at home, and there's a reason for that because I think I'm the greatest thing recording when I'm doing myself. And I'll walk by the microphone and go, I'll get to it later, watch the news, write some lyrics. Then I'll go in there and sing a little bit and go, oh, that's good. But I forced myself to go to a studio to sing. And some of it had already been recorded as demos. And then I was in Bulgaria doing the John Steele album because I'd agreed to do it. I do gigs with those guys sometimes. And I went there in August. And then the plan was fly from there to Andy's studio, Supermill Studios, and basically double and triple the vocals like I did for that nice effect, kind of the 70s, early 80s thing. Mm-hmm. And do the rest of the songs that we had written that I hadn't actually, I'd sang in a phone to give him my idea and he'd sing back to me. But I like to go, and this album, what I was trying to say is a lot of times when I'm going to the studio, if I'm excited, it's a rare feeling to go, oh boy, I get to sing that today.
Yeah.
Because there's always that last song, you're like, I'll do that one tomorrow. And it sounds like that. When you sing it, it's always that one you just don't want to do because you don't really like it. But this one, I really enjoyed it. I mean, that sounds probably cliche, but, Brazilian Heart was the same way. I was really excited to wake up every day and go sing. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What I thought was cool was in the press release that I got from Frontiers.
El Puerto.
Yes. Well, yeah, from El Puerto. From El Puerto. We better make a plug to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it says under the model is what it said. X Accept meets X Udo. Fans can look forward to a concentrated metal experience. I mean, that statement really bodes well to the overall sound of that album. It sounds exactly like that. X Accept meets Udo because there's that diverse. It's just you listen to one part and you're like, oh, I hear Eat the Heat or I hear Bangalore Choir. And then you listen to the other half of it with the guitar and you think Udo. It's such a good mixture.
Yeah, him and I've said in other interviews, there's this weird telepathic thing we have. I don't want to figure it out because I might kill it. It's weird. I'll come up with an idea. And I'll say, what do you think of this? And he'll go, send it to me. And like within a couple hours, he'll send me a riff with a drum track. And him singing my words, kind of differently than what I'd sing them. And then I'll go, ooh, not bad. I mean, there's a couple stinkers that we said, it's not working. But for the most part, this one just kind of fell out on the table. And I think Chasing the Shadows and Cacophony gave us a pretty good leg up on what we wanted to do. When he heard those songs. And then he studied Brazilian Heart. Because, some of that stuff is really good, like Apocalypse and those songs. And I said, we got to keep that punch. But I want this one to be dancing on the tip of your nose with guitars. The new metal, because I also on that Udo tour, I listened to Firepower a lot in the band. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wore it out in my head on the headphones. And I'm like, man, those guys really marketed that well. They got kind of the Screaming for Vengeance layout on the cover. Halford's sounding like the old days. He's got that, let's get back to what we did and be Judas Priest. And it just started wearing on me with Udo every night, watching those young guitar players rip it up. And it just, the energy was, I don't know, man. It was just kind of like a wake-up call. And then, the other two guitar players just quit my band after that tour. They couldn't deal with it. So one of the shows Andy was at, and it was in Stuttgart. It was a weird place because you can look down from the catering area onto the stage with the glass, like windows. So before the show, I saw him. I hugged him. He went to see Udo, and everything was happy and joyful. And then after my set, I walked in, and he was sitting there. And it looked like he was going to cry. And I said, "What's wrong, dude?" He goes, "I belong up there with you. We got to do this again." And I said, "I've been thinking about that, dude. This isn't really working out." So I went and stayed at his house that night. And the next morning, we kind of had breakfast, look at each other, and they go, "Yeah, you never know when the phone's going to ring, do you?" So then, ironically, the two guitar players quit. So I had 8 gigs to do, some festivals, and I called him, "You want to do this?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm on a plane." Nice. So we went, and it was just like the glove got put back on, because him and I had done some big gigs together and a lot of records. So I'm lucky, man. I can only pray that it maintains. We keep moving forward.
I mean, and as I'm listening to it and listening to those guitars, were you in the studio with him when he did his guitar parts?
Mm-hmm. But I can tell you honestly, I was sitting there. What he would normally do is I would do a vocal the day before, and then I'd get up, and he'd stay up all night. He's a night guy in the studio, of course, and I'd hear him playing. The next morning, I'd listen back with him, and I was all raring to go to start singing, and we'd always say, okay, we'll sing at 12. It was usually about 2 or 3 because he'd play back and then start playing again. I can do this better. I can put that there. I can do this there. And then by the time that I've already done the vocals and then I start getting the rough mixes, I'm like, what have you done? He goes, well, I fixed this and I wanted to change that. He really put Andy Susamil's stamp as a guitar player. And I was blown away, And the mixing thing of it, I mean, he was pretty good in the old days, but I think now he's really hit a lick, a stride. And then there's a guy called Matthias Fleischmann. It's called Mass Mix that mastered it separately. So a lot of guys produce at home and then they'll master it on their computer. Yeah. He took it outside to a guy and was sending the mixes to Matthias and saying, tweak this, tweak that. So he'd go back and do another guitar thing or play something over and add something. And then they had a seminar offered by Abbey Road in Frankfurt for free. So they took the master there and said, put it on these 20,000 euro monitors and see what it sounds like. And from what I heard, all those mastering gurus looked at him and said, don't touch it. It's there. Wow. I mean, that doesn't happen. Oh, you could change this frequency. You could change that, They say, hey, man, great job.
Wow. So, I mean, as he's recording his guitar parts, like, is he so you're there and it's at nighttime and is it like a full bore? Like he's just like killing it? Like it's loud as hell?
Well, he's got an arsenal of equipment. I mean, it's a zoo. His studio with guitars and amps and Wagners and Marshalls, and I mean, he's got it all. Yeah. So what he did on the album, you as a guitarist can probably hear the different tones and textures. I mean, he added all those on separate tracks because he's really aware to get that sound. But I think a lot of it comes from this left hand. Mm-hmm. Like Eddie Van Halen, I mean, a long time ago, Kurt Mitchell told me he's not technically a great guitar player, but what he's got right here in these 5 fingers is what makes that sound. It's not that he can play great. It's just in here, there's something that's connected to his soul. Yeah. And I mean, you don't want to blow a guitar player up. Okay. Yeah. That's the worst thing you can do. But I can blow him up in a sense that I beg to see a lot of guys come out and play that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I looked at one of his nylon string electrics. He had these new guitars laying there. I go, what is that? And he goes, oh, it's electric nylon that I bought. And I looked at it. It was absolutely beautiful. I think it was made by a German guy that he works with. And he goes, I'm going to put that in one of the songs, one of the 2. And he put it in Judgment Day, the breakdown.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, really airy and a lot of breath.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you mentioned the tones. And yes, there's certain songs where, he does different things and you can hear those different tones and different, I'm just thinking of one of the guitar solos. And I also mentioned it in my review of the song. I can't remember, it's near the end of the album. And the guitar is on all the other songs, it's out front. And then on this, it's a little bit more laid back. And then on the solo, it's like he's using the front pickup and he's got more of that Swedish guitar sound. And I'm like, it just totally blew me away because I'm like, he went in a different direction with that. And I thought it fit the song perfectly because it's less of an in-your-face song. It's more where it's letting the vocal do the job for the music as opposed to the guitar playing.
He's a singer and a fine singer. He does a lot of the harmonies on the album, and he's learned that as being a frontman for Super Meal and Friends. I think he knows where the breath comes and where the space is for the guitar. Mm-hmm. One thing about him as a guitar player, I find you can take Andy in a room and he can play Strangers of the Night front to back, back to front. Mm-hmm. No for no. Love Michael Schenker as a little boy, Gary Moore, Eddie Van Halen. All of those guys you can kind of hear on these songs, but then you also hear a guy called Andy Susamil. Yeah. And, when he was in UDO, he was kind of the second in that band because Matthias Diet was given the pretty hair. I'm the upfront lead guy, kind of like Acceptors with Wolf.
Yeah.
But I knew that Andy had a whole lot more to offer as a guitar player. So I'm thrilled. I mean, I hope the guitar players sit around in their bedroom scratching their head trying to figure out how he does these things because that's what it's all about.
I know I was. I mean, I'm listening to it and I'm like, what the hell did he just do there? And his use of melody too with your vocal, because I mentioned that it kind of reminded me, and I was actually alluding to Megadeth, because in those middle Megadeth albums, when they became less thrash and became more of a melodic heavy metal band, Marty Friedman would use melodic guitar parts to go with the vocals, and there's a few things that I heard in there that on a few songs that I felt the same way, that he was using it the way it should, his guitar the way it should be used, as opposed to
Let me ask you
overplaying.
this: would you say that Collective Anesthesia?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me kind of chime in on that because I hear the Megadeth thing too. And one big reason is because our bassist, Maltev, has played on a bunch of my albums. But I never knew he was actually a songwriter. He always talked about wanting to write an album and me sing on it and stuff. You know, yeah. But he plays great. He plays with Ian Pace in this Perpendicular thing. And Ian Pace demanded that Maltev be in the band. So he's a stand-up bass player. Got the image, got the look, all that. But I didn't know he was a songwriter. And he always talks about Megadeth and Iron Maiden. Those are his heroes. And one night, I typically fly in first to Hamburg, and I go to his house, and I'll go right to the bedroom and go to sleep because I got a gig to do or whatever. But he's a night guy, and he was walking around the apartment, and it's a funny story. He's always talking. He's a very talkative guy. And he had an Explorer on and was playing Collective Anesthesia for me. He's saying, this is something I wrote, blah, 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 blah. And I go, do that again. I go, you wrote that? He goes, yeah. He goes, I've got this like Megadeth kind of piece that I really like, and then I've got this Maiden thing. And I said, that's great, man. Stop. Let me hear that. And he wrote Perfect World as well. So now I'm not only blessed with a great writer guitarist, I got a great writer bassist, because with his influence of those bands being a little bit younger than me, kind of gives it that fresh edge too, you know?
Yeah, and that really, there's just certain little parts that as soon as I heard it, I'm like, that's like a Megadeth thing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so cool.
He's got the Ellefson bass. I mean, he loves Ellefson. I mean, and Steve Harris. That's his thing, man.
That is cool. I mean, that version of Megadeth with that band and what they did in the 90s is probably my favorite version of the band. So when I hear those comparisons, because that band was so precise then, and I mean, Max Norman produced that too.
Yeah. I worked with Max. Yeah. I remember the stories. Yeah. Yeah, Max would tell us about it. Yeah.
That's too funny. So let's talk about Metal Voice. So that song was written for the Canadian show, The Metal Voice?
Absolutely not true.
So who put that out there?
It was just assumed, I think, because the weird thing was we had this riff, and Andy came up with it, raise your metal voice, and I went, hey! And it wasn't at all one of those, let's write something so the podcast puts us in or anything like that. He just rolled off his tongue, and I went, that's kind of corny, dude. We're going to get nailed for that. He goes, no, but it's cool. Listen. And we started jamming to it. And then I think the press release, I think they misunderstood that we had written it for Jimmy K, but we didn't. Although Jimmy has picked up a song and he's using it as a background music, and technically you can't give him a master because of all the laws, so we gave him the rough mix. And Jimmy was like, wow, this is great for my show. You know, I'd love to use it, but, you know, with all these stupid rules that I got to follow this protocol, and we had to go through all this paperwork. And said, yeah, you can do it. But it was not intentionally written for that at all. I swear to God.
That is yeah, because they put it in the press release.
Yeah, I know. And it wasn't, I mean, it's probably what they assumed, because I know Jimmy, and I love Jimmy to death. And Andy doesn't know Jimmy. He's heard of the show, but maybe that subconsciously just came in as a title.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious that it comes out like that.
It's weird. Tell me, dude. I don't want to find out why.
Yeah, really. So, what I found funny when I got the advance on the album was the band is Reece, but they put David Reece on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just more of a marketing thing that people might?
I'm gonna make myself adamantly clear. I've been trying for 30 years to have a democracy, a band.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's bullshit. It doesn't work. I mean, I've always thought there'd be this band of brothers that would stand and fight for the same thing and all that. But over the years, I've learned I've been kidding myself. So I found being solo far more enlightening.
Yeah.
Although I need a guy like Andy in my life, I wanted to be the pilot. And of course, the guys in the band do have a fair say in what's going on. A lot of guys will say, "I'm not doing that." Like the artwork on the album cover. I mean, I'd come up with this stupid thing to maintain the Chief from Brazilian Heart, and nobody was buying it. And then we had this poster done by a guy named Randashi, who did my videos, Metal Voice and the others. And he had drawn this poster, which is the album cover, and the drummer's in the backseat, Andrea, and we're arguing about it. He goes, "What about this? Look at it." And I went, "You like that?" And he goes, "It pops, dude. Look at it." So we put the Chief in the background, the metal horns from the fans from the front. And no, that's just how that happened. But, and it is my band, technically, but Andy's a big part of what I do. But I make these final decisions, and it's not pleasant, dude. I mean, when you're in charge of stuff, you always got to take the hit for the bads and the goods. I mean, but at least I'm not dealing with some psycho wife or, somebody in my pocket every 2 days because they don't have enough beer money or something. I can pretty much say no or yes.
That's good. I was just kind of curious about that. So this isn't going to be released on vinyl, I take it?
I'm fighting for it, bro. We talked about 180 limited run. I actually have copies of Brazilian Hearts left. People demand vinyl. And one of the weird things about people asking for vinyl, the rare guys like you that actually buy it, you get 90% people saying, "I want vinyl," and then there's only about a 10 or 20% public that actually buy it. Yeah. It still hasn't really taken off like everybody believes, like the collectors like you and me. Yeah. We have a basement full of vinyl. My wife is an insane collector.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've got stuff wrapped in hermetically sealed. We've got albums from the 70s, 60s. I mean, it's insane, the collection. It's all wrapped in wax boxes. So what I found was that the label said, I hear that, Dave, but the problem we get every time is we got to have it on vinyl. And every time we print vinyl, we end up keeping 300 or 400 copies in a closet somewhere, which sucks because I would prefer to have vinyl only.
Yeah, and pretty much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's cool. I'm absolutely working on it. And I think the reviews have been so good, and we're getting more and more questions to the label daily. Is it on vinyl? I don't have a CD player. I'll keep it in my collection. I mean, how many cars do you know in the last 10 years that you buy have a built-in CD player? Not a.
Nope.
So, it's one of those other phenomenons, right? You're finding most automobiles are all, the USB stick.
Yeah.
So. I think it'll come into fruition. I'm praying it does because it would be a cool album.
Yeah, and I mean the way I mean it may be on black, but I also see it as a red as well because to coincide with the vinyl. But that's just me. I'm just kind of a visual guy when I'm looking at vinyl and stuff. But
I'm all there, bro. I mean, I'm pecking at those guys at El Puerto. Trust me. When they hear this interview or read it, they're gonna be like, "Damn it, he's talking about it again." We're gonna have to. Yeah, I hope it does.
And I mean, I always seem to ask that question. If there's a release now, it's the question I ask because I want to know, right? Because I advanced ordered the CD through Amazon because that's all I could get. It's like, okay, well, I've got to, I have to support this. I have to buy it. I'll get the CD, but if it comes out on vinyl, I'll get that too. And the CD will probably sit in my CD shelf because I have it on my phone to listen to it in the car. But once that vinyl comes, it'll be on the turntable for sure.
It freaked me out the other day. I was doing an interview with a guy in Europe, and he said something to me about Spotify and all the streaming, right, and downloads.
Yeah.
And he looking at me on the screen here, and he said, "David, there are people in the world that have the capability to delete and and erase every digital format available. What happens if some freak decides he doesn't want people to listen to music on streaming and blows it up? What are we going to do then? He goes, guys like me, and he took the camera, and it was a wall-to-wall vinyl and CD. And I looked at him, and it freaked me out because I thought, you know what? That could happen.
Yeah.
This labor of love that we all have, some asshole could push a button and delete it because he disagrees with it being something good for us. Or just do it. And all these so-called streaming services could be shut down. I mean, unless you put it down on a stick somewhere, it's gone, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I turn my computer, there's that's my CD collection, man.
I'm digging that.
And then
I wonder how much it weighs.
Oh, a ton. And then I don't know if you can see, there's the vinyl over there.
Nice.
Yeah. So what's that?
All in plastic.
Yeah.
I'd call that the prime stabbing cabin.
You know what? It was, I mean, I just, like I told you before, I just moved into this place back in December, and that wall unit there was the selling point for me to move here. Because I was like, where am I going to put all my vinyl? I'm going to have to buy like things on Amazon to put my vinyl in, and luckily I found this place, and I was like, I have to get that place.
See, that's one of the ups.
Yes.
You have to leave, and there's a provision right there. Okay, somebody's walking me into this. This is the place for my passion.
Exactly. And I was lucky, and someone said to me the other day, actually, they said, they're going to have to drag you out of that place. I was like, well, that's quite possible. You never know. You never know where life's going to take you, so
Never know.
It's all good. Let's talk about the vision for another life. The changes throughout that song are so emphasized, and then Andy's solo is perfect. He didn't overplay whatsoever. It's the perfect.
Yeah, that song is got a great story, in my opinion. My wife has done multiple countries with me, and in the beginning, it was like she was so hot to go, a new adventure, But as the years go on, she's like, I've stood around backstage at these big shows and small shows long enough. I'll see you later. And I said, honey, I'm going to Bulgaria. You got to see Bulgaria. Now, Bulgaria is a country that's kind of caught in the astral plane. It's not really figured out how to rebuild itself for years yet. But there's a passionate music base there. They love rock and roll. I said, you got to go to Bulgaria. Okay, I'll go. So we went to play this little festival. And she really enjoyed it. Great food and everything, great people. And on the way home, we always fly sitting next to each other. But this time we had a person in between us. And we were trying to talk about the experience, or maybe she was yelling at me because I fucked something up, probably what I did. But this guy was like, we couldn't really hear each other. And she said, another life, another time. And I went, click. Started working on the words, blah, blah, blah. Called Andy when I got home. He goes, that's a great title. Let me have it. And then, literally, what do you think, Nadia? An hour later, we had the music? Yeah, about an hour later, the idea. It was one of those magical moments that on the airplane, click, and then Andy goes, I like it. What have you got? And then I gave him what I had. And then he pretty much...
That's fantastic.
He wants to play it live. He's been really bothering me. He wants us to play it live next 2 weeks from now, and I've been rehearsing. And he's going to pull out that acoustic we talked about, and we're going to play it just him and I.
That's fantastic.
Little break.
So how much of the material from this album will you do?
Well, right now it looks like about 8 songs.
Wow.
It's about a 90-minute show. We're going to do a couple Eat to Eat songs, the classics.
Yeah.
Keep a few of the heavies from Resilient Heart, because there are a lot of fans of that record. I'm very proud of that album. And then we're going to put it to them, and, as the days go by in the next few days, people are going to be hearing snippets from each song. And, like this video that Matt Bishop did, my media guy, of the making of the metal box on the pre-order with the laser. They're playing Judgment Day in the background. I thought that was a great idea on his part, to go to the factory and watch them make those things with that laser. And then he put in, as a backing track, Judgment Day. So people already know Metal Voice, because we played that song and Blood in Our Hands on the last 8 shows we did when those 2 guys quit.
Yep.
And we tested them. And actually, we played Rock the Boat from Oslo to Frederikshavn, Denmark. And I've got some really great friends that follow us around, and they're a Danish couple. One's American. And we played those songs, and he looked at me and goes, dude, are those going on the new album? And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yes, yes, yes. And many people, I have some Swedish friends that had come for that cruise, and they said, those songs rock, dude. So we tested them. And, yeah, we're going to play them.
That's awesome. What was the perception from Alberto Records when they got the album?
Flipped out. I mean, funny, they came to see me on the UDO tour, you know, kind of sniffing around, and I was really unhappy with the other label, with Brazilian Heart. I got no help, no media. I mean, the interviews like with you, I mean, it was, compared to this time, was minimal. And I said, hey, I got the UDO tour, and then what they said? Say hi to Frank, the manager. That's all I got. I mean, I didn't even have him in the dressing room in Denmark, where they're from. I didn't even let him in. All they cared about was how many units I'd sold at merchandise. No support. So in the back of my mind, I knew that when I had to offer them an option for the next album, so I played them Cacophony, Blood in Our Hands, and a couple others in demo form, and they said, who wrote these songs with you? They didn't say, great songs, blah, blah, blah. No. They just said, the reason is because they want your publishing. Because in Europe, a lot of companies get money if they own an entertainment entity. Yeah. So they can give you an advance, and then they get that money back immediately by turning it over to government, that they're providing a service to the public of that company. Yeah. So that's all they cared about. So then I said, you know what? I saw Bernd and those guys from El Puerto, and I said, yeah, I really miss you guys. And they said, oh, the door's open, dude. Well, they were trying to get me to do another Saint and Sinners album, and I don't want to do that. I want to be solo. So really didn't get any response on this new album from the other labels. So I said, okay, they've had their 90 days. I'm going to play these songs for El Puerto. And it was instantaneous. Let's make a deal.
Wow.
They're smart. And you know what? They do an amazing job of promoting me. I mean, they're a smaller label, but they protect their artists. They go out for their artists. And that's, right now, it's not happening anymore. It's like sticky underwear on the wall. If it doesn't stick, there's 50 releases from each label every month. And, you know, they really, like Matt's always telling me to slow down. You know, we got this coming out this day. You know, calm down, calm down. I really want it out there. But I think they do one of the best jobs of the label that I've ever been on. When they promoted Saint and Sinners, I was shocked. I mean, it was all day long, all week long media.
Wow. That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
I mean,
it is. I mean, I can't complain.
Do they have a big lineup of artists, or is it a smaller?
Yeah, they're getting bigger, and that's the cool thing about it too, is because, you know, I've got a name basically, and it's good for them and it's good for me. You know, they built a good foundation with the paper print magazines in Europe. They pay for it. They spend the money for that in their budget. But they have other bands. They seem to have a release about every 2 weeks now. And I know a lot of those bands, and they've been with them for a couple albums, so that's proof right there that, you know, it's a good working relationship.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask that, because there's other labels that seem to have, instead of one artist every 2 weeks, it's like 4 artists every 2 weeks. You know,
how can you?
And how do you do that? Because everything just gets lost in the shuffle. How do you promote all those?
Or like labels that start their own magazines, and then they write about their own albums. You know, how are you going to have a real, what would you call it? You know, how could you give an objective opinion about the album if you own the magazine? And then if you have, like, say, an in-house staff of writers that write and produce every album, and they just shuffle around. I won't mention any names, but they're shuffling around the same artist and putting a different band name to it with a different singer here or a different guitar player. It's nothing new. If you push play, you go, I heard that album last month. I heard that song yesterday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, El Puerto's pretty cool about that. They give me a lot of creative freedom. They have not been anything but really pumped about this. I'm not going through the board of guys sitting at the desk listening with me and me tapping my finger with everybody staring away, looking at the wall, waiting for a response. None of that. It's like, fuck, Reece, what have you done? This is a monster.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I love it.
And what's funny, you mentioned labels and talking about, again, I go back to my review, the last song on the album.
Over and over.
Pardon me?
Over and over?
When it comes up cut 12, I'm horrible. I apologize that I haven't learned all the song names yet. But anyways, I had said in my review that if that had been the 80s, because the chorus has a... It's catchy, but the thing was that the guitars didn't get dropped down in the mix. They were still in your face. And
I think you wrote about Back in the Days. That's the one you were talking about.
No disguise. No disguise. Mm-hmm. Because the guitars are really, really in your face. And you've got a great chorus that's really catchy. But you didn't sacrifice the integrity, because back in the day, I think a big name producer would have buried those guitars to bring out that chorus. And what you did was the total opposite. You kept those guitars, but you've got this killer great chorus.
That's the beauty of nowadays. We don't have those guys breathing down our neck saying it's not going to get played on the radio.
Yeah.
And that song, I'm an Aerosmith fan. And if you listen to the melody, it was kind of similar to what Tyler and Perry would do in the harmony. No disguise,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to hit that Tyler vibe in there with the European metal guitar riff,
Mm. Yeah, which was really cool. And there's one chord in there that it's cool because you wouldn't think it would be there for the way the melody's going, but it fits so well.
Mm-hmm. Again, Andy.
Yeah.
He's counter. I mean, that separates the men from the boys.
Yeah.
On songwriting. And I can put this little trick right here and throw you for a loop. And you'll think, God, that sounds kind of weird. But then you listen again and, man, that fits perfectly.
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen's notorious for that.
Yes.
Notorious for that.
Yeah, we were actually, I was out jamming with some friends last night, and they're like, let's do Panama. So they're like, out of the blue. I was like, all right, well, I started playing it, and I just got this new amp. I just got a new Hughes and Kettner, and it just smokes. And I'm just like, I'm loving it. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these tones and these sounds that I didn't have before, and it's just like blistering, right? So I'm like, I start playing Panama, and my buddy goes, oh, I was going to mention that song to you. I wanted to jam that. But the thing with that song is the drummer was having a little bit of difficulty with it because of the way Eddie writes songs. Mm-hmm. Like it's totally unorthodox.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He's about... Kurt Mitchell from Bangalore Choir used to do a thing called Learn to Burn. And he would emulate everybody, show you how Jimmy Page or Zakk Wylde and all these guys do this and what they use for tone. And he played around with Eddie Van Halen stuff. And there's a huge contract. Nobody can release Eddie Van Halen's sound, and everybody's trying to find it.
Yeah.
And he worked and worked and worked. And he said, I took an old Strat with a humbucker, and I took the cable and I plugged it into a 1968 Plexi, and I cranked it on 10 with a fuzz box. And I said, there's this sound. And they released the video.
Oh, no.
What was his name? The guy that's in all the David Lee Roth videos, the crazy guy when he's doing, give me a bottle of anything and a glazed on it to go. Angelus.
Yeah.
Calls him up on the phone and said, cease and desist now. Eddie's not a happy guy. You figured it out. He goes, it's a Strat with a cable, a crank Marshall, and melting and a fuzz box. It's right here. It's in his hand. It's not that difficult. He goes, we're going to sue you for everything you own. Stop it. But he actually figured out the lick technique, the tone, and he said, that's all it is. It's a Marshall cranked on to the gills, melting the tubes, and it's right here with a straight cable and a fuzz box and a little echo. Boom, I got it. It's nothing. It's just weird chords things that he does. Yep. And he's actually, and Curtis would always say, he's not a great lead guitar player. He's a brilliant rhythm player.
Yeah.
That guy, he was a drummer. Eddie was the original drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, what a blessing to have had a guy like that in our lives for music, huh? I mean,
give me
a break.
And that's what I said. I said to the guy, to the guys, I said, listen, I said, this is not a traditional drum part that you're going to play, because, and you also must realize that those two have been playing together since they were kids, right? So, I mean, everything you've ever learned goes out the window for a lot of Van Halen stuff, because it's not going to be, straight. I was messing around with Humans Beings yesterday. I was just like, oh, because I like the riff, and I was using the Hughes and Kettner, and I was like, oh, I like the sound of that, and it's unorthodox too. It's just the way Eddie plays, right?
He's just like they said about Stevie Ray. B.B. King said, about every 10 years, or Albert King, some kid steps up to the plate that just has something. I don't know who it is now. I'd like to say Andy's in that category, Kurt Mitchell. There's a couple of guys out there that can play anything with emotion and style and identity.
Yeah.
You know it's Eddie when you turn on a record.
Yes.
So you knew it was Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's taken all the licks from, Albert and BB and all those guys, but he had this attack, and he played basically piano cable wires for strings. The heaviest you could get. And to watch that guy play, I've seen him live. I mean, I took Wolf Hoffman to see him in Bonn with about 30 people. He walked on stage, and Wolf was standing there. I go, you got to see this guy play. All right. The Germans don't really get the blues thing, right?
Yeah.
So we went to this little club in Bonn. The band walks out on stage. It's like 30 people maybe. Stevie looks out at the audience, grabs a boom stand, sits down on the drum riser, crosses his legs with a hat with a big tail, said, hey, y'all, let's have some fun tonight. And opened up with, and just, I was drinking beers about that big back when I used to drink. And I remember at the end of the show, Wolf was standing there holding that beer, and he hadn't even had a sip of it. And he goes, I have not touched my beer. What just happened? I'm not joking. And he said, I have to learn about this man. So we used to go to a place called World of Music, WOM. He bought every cassette he could find from Stevie Ray Vaughan, even the David Bowie stuff.
Wow.
And went back to the guest house, and I heard him on his practice amp going, all night. And if you listen to Generation Clash and some of the solo, he's got that Strat.
Yeah.
And I was really pushing him to get into the David Gilmour and the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing at that time, because we were kind of changing. And he didn't take a sip. He analyzed that guy going, I've never seen a man play with his left hand and right hand, soloing with both hands and rhythm. How does he do that? And he's doing this. What happened?
So he's totally confused. Here's Wolf Hoffman, this great guitar player, and Stevie Ray Vaughan's just totally confused him.
Blew his mind. Blew his mind. And I've had, when Van Halen came out, and they toured with, it was like 78, right after the Ozzy tour, the Sabbath tour, they played my town. I was in Minneapolis at the time, and we all got invited to go down there and be roadies. We got like $20 a day.
Yeah.
And it was Journey was a headliner, and they had the album with Wheel in the Sky. And Montrose was the second band, and Van Halen was the opener. And they opened up with Light Up the Sky. And we were standing around like, and they had these big fans on stage. I remember Roth was strutting around, and he stopped and he trimmed his hair and looked at the girls in the audience, and it was like the Beatles, like everybody was pissing in their underwear. And the guitar player that I was playing with, he was a Les Paul, Jimmy Page guy. He told me, I'm never touching that fucking thing again. I'll never, I don't know who that guy is, but I'm done. I don't know what just happened. Who is that guy?
Wow.
I said, come on, Steve. He goes, no, man, that guy forget it. I'm done. And he quit. He quit playing guitar. He goes, I'll play in the room and jam. But Eddie terrified him. He said, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I grew up he said, Jimmy Page was my God.
Yeah.
This guy on another fucking planet.
Well, and the crazy thing is that guys then took it to the next level. It's, like, it was just, it's insane how guitar went.
How fast can some of these guys play? And these kids now and girls, have you noticed all these brilliant women that are coming out the last year? I'm going, who's that chick on YouTube? Wow.
I know. I saw Anita Strauss with Alice Cooper, and she was unbelievable.
Yeah, she can play, man.
she can play and she's a great showman.
Oh yeah, she's got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I think it, always the chick bands were always kind of
Yeah.
pop. And Heart was the coolest girl band I ever watched live. But I've seen some girl bands in Europe. I mean, look at Arch Enemy. That singer, forget about it.
Right.
That girl's got it all, man. She'll blow your eardrums out. I mean, power.
That's amazing. And it's funny that it's gone that way. Because I think the girl guitar players were always there. I just don't think they were taken seriously. Where now...
No, they figured out tone, they're not really playing pretty and dainty.
That's right. Aggressive.
Tuning is... Yeah, they got the 7-string guitars now, and it's all tuned all crazy, and I love it.
I do too. I really dig it, and going to see Alice and seeing her play was amazing. She's such a good player.
He's not a dumb guy.
No, definitely not, because he had another female. I think maybe it was Orianthe before her.
Yep.
So he's had a couple females, which has been really cool to see. And he's kind of changed the dynamic of his band, where he's gone, like, instead of 2 guitar players, he's gone with 3 now. And then he's got guys and girls that bring a different aspect to each, like, because he's got so many genres of music. And
the Visto Blanco guy, I mean, he's in the band. I mean,
yeah,
he's signed to Alberto, actually.
Oh, is
bass player. Yeah.
They're supposed to be playing at this festival in Maryland at the end of this month that I may go to. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing him. Yeah, Chuck Garrick. That's his name.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yes, I met him at a baseball game once, actually.
Crazy.
Yeah, which was funny. Hey, how you doing? So
Ken Berry used to tell me playing with Alice, because Alice got sober 40 years ago.
Yeah.
He said Alice would book his tours around all the golf courses.
Yeah. And
would watch the cheesy, C-level horror movies in the bus all night and drink Diet Cola. RC, the old days. And he's booked the tours around golf courses. He said he was the nerdiest guy. And then on stage, he was like this ultra freak, super rock star. But really, he was just a guy in sweatpants, screaming at the golf course, throwing clubs, trying to master the game. And he's still that way. I mean, Ken looked at me, he goes, he's one of the weirdest guys and the most intelligent man I've ever sat down and talked to. He goes, he's got a head full of knowledge about a lot of things.
Yeah, he used to have that radio show, and I only listened to it once, but I couldn't really grasp it. He seems so intelligent, and I'm just like, I don't know if I get this.
Well, you kind of got a taste of it in Wayne's World, right? When the 2 guys drop their knees, and he's like, well, actually, and he starts going into this diatribe. Yeah. Like, we're not worthy. Okay, forget it. You're really smart, dude. We don't get it,
Oh, that's too funny.
Oh, yeah.
So in terms of promoting the album, I guess you'll probably have quite a few tour dates, will you?
Well, God bless us all with this coronavirus. I've got 28 shows confirmed right now. We start off the 13th of March in Germany, and 13th to 14th, and then I go to the UK on April 4th. We run 7 or 8 in a row there, and then May I return to Europe. We've got Spain, Belgium, Holland, France, Luxembourg. And then the fall it kicks in again. We go into Scandinavia and Hamburg and the northern route. Perfect time of year, November or September. Yeah. You don't quite know what kind of weather you're going to get, but it's always a joy to play there. But we're kind of sitting on the edge of the fence right now because flight restrictions, travel. A little paranoid at the moment, but I'm really blessed and grateful that the reviews have been so powerful, and because in Europe they can be pretty hardcore on you. Don't send this album to a thrash magazine or a black metal magazine, but all in all, it's all been super positive, and I hope that opens the door for me because the UDO tour I had really high hopes. I played a lot of sold out rooms with him. The crowd was great to me for the most part. And I came home, and this year is kind of kicking off slow, a little slower than I expected. So I'm hoping that the album opens those doors for me.
That's fantastic. I remember that story you told me about Udo saying he's sitting on the toilet taking a shit, and he's like, "You're singing it wrong."
No. What it was, I was that came a couple of days later. What it was I walked into the bathroom. There's nowhere to warm up, right? And I'm really not. And I see these two shoes under there, and I'm like, fuck, I don't care what it is. And I said, da 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 da. And I do it like 2 minutes, and I hear, shut the fuck up, Reece. And I go, Udo? Yes, shut up. He goes, stop making this ridiculous noise. You don't need to do that. Go out there and sing. And he opens the door and comes out, and of course, it's like, oh God, somebody just took a shit, but we're hugging. And he's like, da 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 da. It's great to see you. And we're having this long chat about Accept and in the old days. And it was like I had just seen him the day before. We go on and do the tour, and about 3 days later, I'm in the hallway, and he's standing there, and he's got this bad infection in his leg. He's walking on a cane, and they told him, cancel. I told you the story, I think.
Yeah.
And he's like, I never cancel. So he's in miserable pain, and he doesn't take drugs, or he used to drink, but he doesn't do that anymore. And he's like, these pills are making him stupid, but it's all he could do to get through it. And he looked at me one night, he says, David, you're singing it wrong. I said, what? He goes, ecstasy. You're doing it wrong. Fuck you. He goes, I will come on, and I will show you how it's done. And I looked right at him. I said, challenge accepted, Udo. And I go, when? And he goes, you will know. I will come up behind you with the microphone. You know how he talks?
Yeah.
And I will show you. And I said, I welcome the challenge. Well, it never happened. But Sven, his son, got on stage and played Ecstasy with us in Sweden, which was insane. The guy slammed it. We never jammed together. He just got up there and ripped through it.
Wow.
But he told me, he was, you're not singing it right. I said, I wrote the fucking lyrics. I know what it is. No. You're singing it wrong.
Because he does that song. Does he not? Does he do that song?
Yeah, he did it. Not live. He did it with Accept. They used to do it live with Accept, but he did it on the album they did after They Dumped Me. I think, what was it called? Objection Overruled or something?
Right.
They recorded that in Generation Clash. You are singing it incorrectly. Okay, show me how it's done. The crowd will love it. You will.
Why did they do that? That's kind of weird.
Every night I was asking the tour manager, how does he feel? Not good, mate. And it wasn't that he didn't want to. It's just like, it was all, the guy you got to tip your hat to the guy. He's been doing it so long, and to be going through that pain. One night in Hamburg, did I tell you the night that he smashed his face?
No, I don't think so.
Playing in this huge place, and it's like an old dark theater from the 20s, right? And then you can't see where you're going. Black walls, stairs everywhere. And his left leg was the bad one. And he would use the cane on the right. And the stairs to the stage, the last one was really high. And he misjudged, and he led with his left foot and caught his foot on the step and face planted on the stage right when they announced when he goes on. And that night particularly, for some reason, I hadn't stayed to watch him start. And I'd been in the dressing room. And after the show, he goes, did you see what happened? No. Did you see me fall? I said, no, you fell? What happened? He goes, I used the wrong foot. I face planted, but I did the show. I go, you're a fucking animal, man. They said he bounced his face off that hard stage. And he went on and did it like nothing happened. So I tip my hat to the guy. He's a king.
Oh, man. He sounds like a character, that's for sure.
Oh, he is. You go in the dressing room, right? And there he is in his big parka in the wintertime. And he's got his iPhone and he's playing Candy Crush. and you're like, that's fucking Udo Dirkschneider, It's like, okay, it's station. Okay, let's do it. He just walks out there. It's like night after night, it's the same thing. And the crowd goes ape shit. And, he's backstage all relaxed because he's a fucking veteran, He's like, oh, it's time to go. Let's go. I don't feel so good. I got the flu today. You don't sound like it. You sound like Udo.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a badass.
Man, that is funny.
Fucking badass.
But you know what? Looking at, when you see him visually, that's kind of, I think, what I would expect.
You know what Gabby Hoffman told me once? And it couldn't have been more true. And I said, about Udo. I said, what is it about that guy? And she looked at me all serious and shit, because he's one of them.
Yeah. And
I went, what? He's one of them. He's comes from the area in Germany of steel factories and industry, and he's a German. He is one of the metal crowd, and they never forgot that. He has a loyal fan base. Look at this Halloween tour. Can you imagine that? Have you read about it?
No, I haven't. No.
Dirkschneider's opening for Halloween in Europe. There's like 40 shows booked.
Wow.
That's going to be huge.
Wow.
And he's going to play all accept songs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's the big one that I've read about. And then I heard Sabaton's going out with Priest, I think.
Really?
Yeah. Sabaton and Priest this year, I think.
In Europe?
I think the United States too.
States. Wow. I saw Priest on the last tour, and they were good. They were good.
Yeah.
It was a different dynamic. It was weird without Glenn Tipton, but I almost said KK Downing, but
I mean, I without Halford, forget it. It's not.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's
my wife. It's her dream to meet him, and I've met him a few times, and he's always a gentleman. And if before I die, I hope I can get Rob to give her a big hug. She would die. She loves him.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, David, I think that is pretty much all I have for today.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was good. I'm super excited. I hope the album does well. I'm super excited to see when people get to hear it, because I think they're going to be truly impressed.
I'm getting pop-ups from the record company right now saying people are pre-ordering, and it's been a good day. So that's really good to see.
That's good. Hopefully, all the reviews are helping too, and because sometimes people don't buy an album until they read a review on it, which is
and but that's true. You can get out of 100, you can get 85s all day long. But it's a matter of pulling out your wallet, and a lot of people just can't afford the disposable income. And I know with this coronavirus too, I was talking to my manager today, economically what's going to happen, the working man like me, because I work with my hands still. I'm not a guy who makes money off music to where I can live.
Yeah.
The guys I know are sitting at home going, I can't go to work today.
Oh, shit.
I can't take the train today. So the impact is global. I mean, I think they just canceled all the flights from the United States to Italy and vice versa. So it's a little scary, but I have faith in it. I believe in the album, and I'm just going to keep plugging away. I got another album started with Andy, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're going to be heavier, but a little heavier on the next one.
Oh, wow.
We've got, I think, 5 things kind of fleshed out right now, and yeah, I mean, why waste time when you're sitting around waiting for the tours to start? You might as well start recording, right?
That's true. That's true. I can't wait to hear that one.
I want you, if you wouldn't mind mentioning, I did the John Steele album that I mentioned earlier. Doogie White did an album with them, and Blaze Bailey. Great album. I'm not quite sure what time of the year it's going to come out. I also did another album that I committed to do with a guy named Stefan Georg, a German guy, and it's more 80s metal. But both these albums, the John Steele album is like progressive Russian, Bulgarian, technically progressive, heavy stuff. And then the Stefan Georg thing is a little bit more moderate, but metal, me kind of being the Halford guy. Those are 2 albums that I'm pretty excited about. But for the most part, the future calls that I'm just going to be focused on Dave, on David, because I don't want to be, the project guy anymore.
Right.
That was another reason we talked about being solo and why is it David Reece? Because I know the climate that we're living in. A lot of the guys will offer me to do their album and they'll pay me a fee. But then what happens is you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because you're on everybody's album.
Yeah.
And if you go solo, I found that I'm starting to find an identity again. And be David.
I kind of agree with that, David, because when there's so much material coming from here and here and here, from different bands and different, you try and listen to it, but when it's your own thing that you're doing, I find myself, I'm like, oh, David Reece's album's out. I want to listen to that.
On that, before we close, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Melton Frederick Burkett, our bassist, we were on tour with Sainted Sinners. We're in the dressing room, and I don't drink. I'm totally sober now, and thank the Lord, I'm sober for a couple of years almost, and I found it was killing me. Drank to sing, sang to drink, whatever the reason was. But I'm a clean guy, and Melton looked at me one night in the dressing room. He goes, "Who are you? What kind of a singer are you? Are you a metal singer? Are you a blues rock singer? Who are you?" And I looked at him and it flipped me out, dude. I went, whoa. He goes, I can't really put my finger on what kind of a singer you are. You're metal here, then you're blues rock there, you're Coverdale here. And I thought maybe it was from all those projects. And then I said, when I did Resilient Heart, he goes, there you are. That's David Reece. And on this album, he goes, that's David Reece. And I'll close with that.
I have to agree with that, to be honest with you. That is a very good point.
He's a smart guy.
He is. Okay, well, thank you very much, David.
Thank you, brother. Love your name, too. Man, it's a great name.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I love it. I have a friend, I'm a bull riding fanatic, too, and Ty Murray is one of my heroes. I'm a redneck from Oklahoma originally, but I like Tyson, I like Ty, I like those names. If I ever had a son of my own, I would have named him something like that.
Well, actually, Robin McCauley pointed out to me the other day when I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, not the other day, that's Michael Schenker's son's name, Tyson. He goes, did you know that? I was like, no, not a clue. Didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, it's Tyson Tauro or something strange. Giles actually spoke to him today when they canceled the Schenker tour in Asia. But I think they call him Tauro as a nickname or a middle name.
Oh, okay.
But they say the guy is so beautiful. Giles says, I follow him to grocery stores because he gets all the chicks. He looks like his dad did 30 years ago. And he goes, we can go to a grocery store and the girls are like dropping groceries, just staring at his beautiful blue eyes and white hair,
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And, here, you want to take it to the show. And Giles goes, I go with him because he gets all the chicks.
He's hoping to get just one of them.
There's one of them, the ugly one that doesn't get picked up. I'll take her.
I'll take her, yeah.
And he laughs about it. Yeah, he goes, Tyson will walk down the street and it's like he's like the Pied Piper, nobody even knows who he is.
That's funny, man. That's awesome. Oh.
All right, brother.
Okay,
well,
man.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Really made my day. My wife and I were talking about the virus and everything. And then I saw your review and I was like, holy shit, it's a good day.
Yeah. Well, it's much deserved, man.
Thank you, brother.
I really, I had to put a lot of time into it because I wanted to, because I was impressed. So
Thank you.
I've actually it's been good with the last, that Black Swan album that came out with Robin McCauley on it. I really like that. So it's starting off as a good year, some good music coming out.
Well, when you put Red Beach and Robin and Pilsen together, there's a pile of ingredients right there of really good players and songwriters.
Yeah.
Always loved Robin. He's always been a gentleman to me. And I'm happy to see him back with Schenker and working and doing what he's doing now.
Yeah, and it looks like he's busy. I mean, he's doing the Raiding the Rock Vault as well in Vegas.
And that voice sounds the same.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, he's clean living and he's healthy. And I mean, they all say, oh God, here comes Robin. He's putting on the uniform. But his hair is right, his eyebrows. But he goes out there and sings like he did on the Schenker albums. It was like he's the strongest singer of the whole tour.
Oh.
Every night he's nailing it.
That's amazing. And he said on this Black Swan album that Pilsen just had the right microphone and just got that right vocal performance from him.
That's key to his, like with my album.
Yeah.
There's a certain microphone that works for Dave's voice, and I've used them all. And I'm an 87. you cannot. It just says, Dave, louder, get in my face, and it's like, okay, what can you take? And you cannot kill it. And there's certain mics for singers. You do an album with a different microphone. You go, that sounds weird. It's like a guitar player, right? When he's playing it on the rig.
Yeah.
It's like, it just doesn't sound the same. Unless you're, Eddie Van Halen.
Exactly. Oh, all right. Well, I will leave you on that note. That's, Eddie Van Halen.
God bless us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, man. Well, you have a great day and all the best with the album, and we'll stay in touch. Okay, man.
Yeah.
Right.
I love you, bro. Have a good day.
You too, man. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.